He always dreamed big. From a young age, he knew that success wasn't going to come easy. His name was Marcus, and growing up in a tough neighborhood, he learned early on that the world didn't always treat people like him the same way. Despite the challenges, he had one goal: to make something of himself. There was a building in the city, a tall, shining structure that stood as a symbol of wealth, power, and success. Everyone talked about it. It was where the important people went, where the deals were made, where the elite worked. It represented everything Marcus wanted to achieve. But it wasn't just a building to him. It was a place where he knew he wasn't welcome. Years ago, when Marcus was still figuring out how to make his dreams a reality, he tried to enter that building. He had a meeting, something that could help push him forward in his career. He was ready. His suit was crisp, his speech prepared, and his ambition burning. But when he reached the front door, something happened. The security guard gave him a look that said it all. He wasn't allowed in. The excuse was simple: "You're not on the list." But Marcus knew better. It wasn't the list they were concerned with, it was who he was. The color of his skin. The assumption that someone like him didn't belong in a place like that. Marcus stood there, humiliated, watching the doors close behind him. That moment stuck with him. It was more than just being turned away. It was a reminder of everything the world thought he couldn't achieve. But it also planted a seed. One day, he would own that building. Marcus didn't come from a family of privilege. His parents worked hard, but their money was never enough to provide the luxuries others had. His mother worked long hours as a nurse, and his father was a mechanic. They taught him the value of hard work, but they also warned him of the challenges ahead. "The world won't always treat you fair," his father used to say. "You have to prove you're worth more than they think." Growing up, Marcus saw how racism affected his family and friends. People treated them as if they didn't belong, as if they weren't capable of the same things as others. Whether it was the way teachers would doubt his potential, or the way neighbors treated his family, Marcus felt it all. It was hard to escape the feeling of being judged before you even spoke. But Marcus refused to accept that. He knew that if he wanted to change his life, he couldn't wait for things to get better. He had to push forward. Every setback became fuel for his drive. Every person who doubted him only made him work harder. School wasn't easy, but Marcus excelled. He worked late into the night, studied every chance he got, and joined after-school programs that would open doors for him. He wasn't the most popular, but he was determined. He wasn't the most talented, but he was willing to put in the effort no one else would. When he finished high school, Marcus had big dreams, but no one would help him get there. The doors he knocked on were always closed, and even when he found a job, the pay was low, the opportunities were limited, and the respect was minimal. But Marcus didn't let it stop him. He started learning about business, investing his time into skills that could make him money. He worked several jobs, saved every penny, and taught himself what others wouldn't. Every time he faced rejection, every time he was underestimated, he remembered the building. He would use that feeling to fuel his next move, to remind himself that he wasn't going to let the world define him. He was going to define himself. As Marcus grew older, his vision began to sharpen. He realized that the path to success wasn't just about working hard, it was about working smart. His early jobs taught him valuable lessons in business, but he knew he needed to think bigger. Every time he faced rejection, he looked at it as a lesson, not a failure. He had learned that the world wasn't going to hand him success. He had to grab it for himself. He started looking into investments, learning about real estate, stocks, and business ventures. Marcus didn't have the money to jump in at first, but he didn't let that stop him. He started small, flipping items online, and slowly building his savings. He worked every job he could find, and took on side gigs to fund his goals. While others spent their time unwinding after work, Marcus was studying, planning, and working on his next move. Soon, his hard work paid off. He saved enough money to invest in his first property. It wasn't much, just a small building that needed some work, but it was his. It felt like a huge step forward. His first taste of success tasted sweet, but he knew it was just the beginning. The more Marcus learned, the more confident he became. Each new investment was a stepping stone to something bigger. He faced plenty of struggles, though. There were times when he almost gave up, when things didn't go as planned, or when people told him it wasn't worth the effort. But Marcus refused to listen to the doubters. He used every setback as fuel. He learned from his mistakes, adjusted his strategies, and kept moving forward. Then, one day, Marcus stumbled upon a deal that could change everything. It was an opportunity he had dreamed about for years. The building where he was once denied entry, the one that had haunted him for so long, was now available for purchase. He couldn't believe it at first. His heart raced as he thought back to that moment, the humiliation, the feeling of being less than everyone else. And now, he had the chance to own the place that had symbolized his struggle. It wasn't just a business opportunity, it was personal. This was a chance to show the world, and most importantly, himself, that he had made it. The building was the physical manifestation of everything he had fought for. And now, it was within his reach. But it wouldn't be easy. The price tag was high, and Marcus knew this wasn't just another investment. It was the culmination of years of hard work. He had to find a way to make it happen. With everything he had worked for on the line, he knew this was his moment to prove that nothing, not even the past, could hold him back. The moment Marcus found out that the building was up for sale, it felt surreal. It was as if time slowed down. For a second, all the struggles, the rejection, the long nights of hard work, and the doubts from others disappeared. It was just him, standing there, looking at the opportunity that had always seemed out of reach. This building, the one where he had been turned away so many years ago, was now for sale. And he was in a position to make it his. Marcus knew this wasn't a simple purchase. This wasn't just about money. It was about everything he had worked for, everything he had endured to get to this point. The building wasn't just a structure. It was the symbol of his journey. It was the place that had rejected him, but now it could be his way to take back control. He immediately reached out to his real estate contacts. The price was steep, but Marcus was prepared. He had worked hard to build up his assets, and he had a strategy in place. He had already saved a significant amount and invested in other properties, but this was different. This was the one that would define everything he had accomplished. The negotiations were tough. The building was in high demand, and the competition was fierce. People with much deeper pockets were also eyeing the place, but Marcus didn't back down. He played the game with confidence, understanding the value of the property beyond its market price. This wasn't just an investment for him, it was his redemption. Days turned into weeks, and the pressure built. Every time Marcus thought he was close to finalizing the deal, something else popped up. There were issues with paperwork, doubts from other investors, and concerns about the future of the building. But Marcus was determined. He didn't let the obstacles discourage him. Every challenge only pushed him harder, reminded him why this mattered so much. Finally, the day arrived when the deal was done. He signed the papers, shook hands with the seller, and officially became the owner of the building. It was a moment he had dreamed about for years, but when it finally happened, it was different than he had imagined. There was no grand celebration, no fireworks, just a quiet sense of triumph. Marcus stood in the lobby of the building, looking up at the high ceilings and polished floors. It was hard to believe that this was now his. The place that once denied him had become a symbol of everything he had worked to overcome. This was more than just a building to him. It was proof that dreams could come true, no matter how impossible they seemed. As he walked through the empty halls, Marcus felt a wave of emotions. He thought back to the day he was turned away, the humiliation and anger he had felt. Now, standing in the same place, he felt a sense of victory, one that was earned, not given. Once Marcus officially owned the building, he knew it was time for change. The building that once represented exclusion and rejection was now in his hands, and he was determined to make it something different. It wasn't just about having a valuable piece of property. It was about transforming the space into something that could benefit everyone, not just the elite. Marcus wanted it to be a symbol of inclusion and opportunity, a place where anyone, regardless of background, could feel welcome. The first step was renovation. The building had a long history, but its time had come for an upgrade. It needed modern touches, But Marcus also wanted to preserve the soul of the place. He hired a team of contractors and designers to bring his vision to life. The goal wasn't just to update the building, but to reshape its identity. He replaced the old, outdated decor with a more vibrant and welcoming atmosphere. He added features that made the space feel more inclusive: community rooms, co-working spaces, and affordable offices for small businesses to thrive. But Marcus didn't stop there. He wanted to create a culture of diversity, something that was missing when he first tried to enter the building. He made sure that local entrepreneurs, especially those from underrepresented communities, were given a chance to rent spaces in the building. Instead of catering only to the rich and powerful, Marcus made the building a place where anyone with ambition and determination could find a way in. Word quickly spread about the changes. People began to notice the shift in the building's atmosphere. It was no longer a place that felt closed off, reserved only for a select few. It became a hub for innovation, creativity, and growth. Young professionals, small business owners, and even non-profit organizations found a space to thrive there. Marcus wanted to show that success didn't have to come with exclusivity. It could be for anyone willing to work for it. He also used his influence to host events that celebrated diversity and entrepreneurship. Workshops, networking events, and seminars became regular occurrences. The building was alive with activity, and for the first time in its history, it wasn't just a symbol of wealth and power. It was a place where people could come together, share ideas, and create change. Through these changes, Marcus began to see the impact of his ownership. The building wasn't just a place he had bought. It had become a catalyst for transformation. The people, who once would never have had a chance to be a part of that world, now had an opportunity to carve out their own space. And for Marcus, that was the most powerful part of it all. The building had come full circle. It was no longer a reminder of the rejection he once felt. It was now a reflection of the change he had created. As the building began to change, so did the community around it. People from all walks of life were drawn to the space Marcus had created. For many, it was more than just a place to work. It was a symbol of hope, of something bigger. The building had become a beacon for those who had been left out of opportunities in the past. And the impact rippled through the community. Young entrepreneurs, especially those from marginalized backgrounds, found themselves welcomed into a place where they could finally get their foot in the door. They no longer had to fight for access to spaces that were once closed off to them. In the past, these entrepreneurs might have struggled to find affordable office spaces or been dismissed by people who doubted their potential. But now, they had a chance to succeed, thanks to Marcus's vision. Small business owners who had been struggling to find a place where they could grow found new hope. The building provided them with affordable spaces to set up their operations, and the environment encouraged collaboration. Instead of being isolated in small offices or cramped workspaces, they had a community of like-minded people to work with. The support they found there helped them to thrive, and many of them began to grow their businesses faster than they ever expected. The ripple effect didn't stop with just the entrepreneurs. Marcus's changes also influenced the local economy. New businesses opened in the area, and local workers found opportunities in the building's transformation. People who had once been excluded from the area now found themselves employed, contributing to a thriving community that supported each other. It wasn't just the business side that changed. The building itself became a space for social impact. Marcus held events focused on mentorship, career development, and diversity, making sure that young people, especially those from underrepresented groups, had access to the resources and networks they needed to succeed. The building became a space where people could learn, grow, and connect in ways they never thought possible. The shift in the building's atmosphere was undeniable. It had gone from a symbol of exclusion to a place that brought people together. Marcus had created something far beyond a successful business venture. He had created a community where everyone had the chance to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And for many, that feeling of belonging made all the difference. Standing in the lobby of the building, Marcus reflected on how far he'd come. This wasn't just about owning a building. It was about proving to himself and the world that he could overcome any obstacle. Years ago, he had been turned away at this very door, humiliated and judged before he even had a chance. That moment fueled his drive for success. Now, as the owner of the building, he saw how much he had achieved. The journey hadn't been easy. He faced doubts, setbacks, and rejections, but he never stopped. Each challenge pushed him to prove that he belonged. The building wasn't just a piece of property, it was a symbol of his resilience. Walking through the halls, Marcus realized that the true victory wasn't just personal, it was about the opportunities he had created for others. The building was no longer a symbol of exclusion, it had become a place where anyone could thrive. For Marcus, this victory was a reminder that no matter where you start, you can rise above the challenges and turn what was once denied into something powerful.